The ruler's actions, along with how many times the rule of Babylon changed hands, is particularly interesting. Babylon started as a port city off the Euphrates River. It was founded by nomadic Amorites who settled down. In 19th century BC, the first Amorite ruler to govern Babylon appeared. He, along with those who followed him, did well. The ruler in 1792 BC is known as Hammurabi. Hammurabi, who took power after his father abdicated, originally wanted to stay peaceful. He worked on improving the city through architecture, laws, and more. He wrote one of the first ever law codes in existence. One of the most well-known codes is an eye for an eye. But the time of peace ended when a neighboring city known as Elam tried to get Babylon and another city to fight. Hammurabi found out what Elam was up to and made an alliance with the other city to fight Elam. They easily beat Elam, but Hammurabi felt that the other city wasn't supportive enough. So Hammurabi took over that city too, conquering the southern part of ancient Mesopotamia. He wanted more after that. He then took over two major cities, Ashur and Nineveh, which established his empire called the PALEO Babylonian Empire. Babylon stayed strong enough to quash revolts for the rest of Hammurabi's life, but sadly not strong enough for his son. The northern part of the Paleo-Babylonian Empire fell, leaving the rest of the empire weak for the Assyrians to come in and take over. First, the Hittites conquered but did not stay, since Babylon was too far away from their home. After that, the Kassites came in, who were then kicked out by the Assyrians. The Assyrians, which are a fearsome army that is known for their gruesome punishments, took Babylon and more, forming the Neo-Assyrian Empire. The Assyrians were one of the first organized armies with standardized armor, iron-made weapons, and helmets. They were paid and even had contracts. They developed siege weapons, were highly trained in combat on horses and on chariots, and they did horrific things to their prisoners. The Assyrian king, Sennacherib, and his men destroyed Babylon, massacred many civilians, and plundered the city. He thought it would make other cities fear him, but it enraged people. His own sons even assassinated him when he returned to Ashur. Now the Assyrians believed that they have to continue to conquer cities, or their great god Ashur would end the earth. They also believed that if they lost one battle, Ashur would be angry with them and take the earth back. In 612 BC, the Assyrian Empire ended when they lost the Battle of Nineveh. They feared the worst, and the empire quickly dissipated. 3 months later, Napolassar, who was a nobleman from a Semitic tribe under Assyrian control, restored Babylon to a great empire again. That empire was called the Neo-Babylonian Empire. He continued to gain land and alliances, building up the empire till he died and left the empire to his son, Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar became a great and powerful king. He continued to rebuild the city by improving water channels, walls, buildings, creating a museum, and built massive temples, mainly to the patron god of their city, Marduk. These temples were known as ziggurats. The nicest and tallest one in Babylon was the ETEMENANKI. The ETEMENANKI, also known as the Tower of Babel, was this giant temple that stood about 299 feet in the air and was started originally by Napolassar. Another thing he added to his amazing city was the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This was a pyramid with multiple terraces going up. He apparently constructed it for his wife to remind her of home, because she missed her home. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon is considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The interesting thing is that archaeologists can't find proof that it even existed. It's not written down in historical Babylonian texts. The only mention of it is by Greek historians. The theory at the moment is that those historians described a garden of the Assyrian king Sennacherib in Nineveh. After Nebuchadnezzar died, his sons were left with Babylon. They tried their best, but they couldn't keep the empire together. Babylon was weak and quickly fell to the hands of the Persians. Cyrus wasn't bad to them, though. He actually treated them with respect. He rebuilt their temples, released the Jews that Babylon had collected through their years of conquest, and Babylon started to prosper, flourishing in the arts and science. This lasted for more than 200 years until high taxes caused the citizens in the empire to be unhappy. Babylon's greatness started to decline. That's when Alexander the Great conquered Babylon. During the conquering of Babylon, the ETEMENANKI was destroyed. After Alexander said he wanted to restore Babylon to its former glory, he then became ill and died before he could enact his plan. Babylon did not get to be the capital of Alexander the Great's empire or prosper under a great ruler. Instead, Alexander's empire was divided between his generals, not peacefully, might I add. The new leaders of Babylon did not share the same interest as Alexander in making Babylon great. Everything went downhill from there. People moved away or died as the situation became worse and worse. Babylon never saw another prosperous day again. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk with you today about these interesting people and events, all the way from Hammurabi to Alexander the Great. Stay safe and healthy, and have a good day.